Good afternoon, everyone. We encourage you to take your seats. We'll begin momentarily. My name is Mamiko Kim, Director of Communications and Operations at the Japan International Transport and Tourism Institute, USA, or JITTI. Before we begin, please note that this event will be conducted in 2 languages and that we offer simultaneous interpretation via the headsets at your seats. You'll find English on channel 1 and Japanese on channel 3. If there are any problems with your headsets, please find a member of our staff to assist you. 皆様こんにちは。JITTIのまみこきみと申します。本日はお忙しいところ参加いただきありがとうございます。このイベントは英語と日本語の同時通訳を利用できます。ご使用される方は座席に置いているヘッドセットを合わせて、すみません、ヘッドセットをつけて英語チャンネル1。
Choose 1 for English and then 2 for Japanese. If you have any issues, please find a member of our staff to assist you.
これではここから
Now we will begin the simultaneous interpretation.
Today's event timetable, speaker bios, and guest surveys can be found on the JITTI website at JITTIUSA.org. Guests attending in person may use the Wi-Fi information found on the screen to access the website. We also kindly ask for all guests to sit closer to the front of the hall and to the center of the aisles to allow for latecomers to fill in the seats. Now, please allow me to formally offer a warm welcome to all of you who are joining the Rail Symposium 2026, co-hosted by JITTI and the American Public Transportation Association, or APTA. This symposium is an official participant of the 2026 National Cherry Blossom Festival and is being held with support from the Nippon Foundation, the Embassy of Japan in the United States, and the Ronald Reagan Building and International Trade Center. To open our symposium, Masafumi Shikuri, Chairman of JITTI and the Japan International Transport and Tourism Research Institute, would like to make some remarks. Please join me in welcoming Chairman Shikuri.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to all of you who are attending this symposium, co-hosted by the American Public Transportation Association, or APTA, in person and online. Second, I would like to extend my deep gratitude to His Excellency Mr. Shigeo Yamada, American Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Japan to the United States of America, for his presence in spite of his busy schedule. Right after Prime Minister Takaichi's visit to Washington, D.C. and the Japan-US summit meeting with President Trump last week. In addition, in this memorable year of the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States, I would like to express my utmost appreciation to Mr. Scoteras, APTA's President and CEO, and everyone at APTA for their cooperation and support in planning today's symposium. Next, I would like to express my special thanks to the keynote speakers, Mr. David Fink, Administrator of the Federal Railroad Administration, and Mr. Yoshimichi Terada, Vice Minister for Transport, Tourism, and International Affairs at the Japanese Ministry of Land Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to both of you. Panel discussion 1 involves 4 railway experts under the theme of railway investment and its economic effects. Mr. Roger Harris from Amtrak, Mr. Jano River from the New York MTA, Mr. Hidetoshi Miura from Hitachi Rail, Mr. Nobuhiko Takeichi from West Japan Railways. In addition to the four panelists, Mr. Tom Wright as a moderator. Panel discussion 2 invites 5 experts focusing on the relationship between mega events and public transportation. Mr. Conan Chang from LA Metro, Mr. Liang Kohoran from MBTA, Mr. Kiyoshi Eguchi from Osaka Metro, Ms. Janet Walker Ford from APTA and WSP, and Mr. Noriyoshi Yamagami from Tokyo Metro. In addition to the 5 panelists, Mr. Carlos Bolaceras as the moderator. Thank you very much for all the experts in the railway industry from Japan and the United States for joining us. Since 2019, JITTI's annual Spring Symposium has been held as an official event of the National Cherry Blossom Festival with the endorsement and cooperation of its president, Ms. Diana Mayhew. After the symposium, please enjoy the gorgeous cherry blossoms on the Potomac River. At the Railway Symposium 2024, co-hosted by APTA, we discussed the social and economic value of forming a railway network between and within cities, as well as the effects of improving urban attractiveness and resilience. Since then, the economic importance of railways has been further emphasized in both Japan and the United States. Large-scale urban development projects are currently underway in Japan, mainly in Tokyo and Osaka, and in the United States, mainly in the Northeast Corridor and international event venues. With railway development and station-centered urban development, as will be presented later in details by respective panelists. Moreover, significant investment in the United States by the Japanese comprehensive railway manufacturer has also been made. Now, one of the scenes that comes to mind when I think about American Railroad is 500 Miles, a folk song that was sung by Peter, Paul, and Mary, and took the world by storm in the 1960s and continues to be covered today. While today's youth may not be familiar with it, it's a song that gained great popularity in Japan at the time, with its melancholy melody and the lyrics lamenting that if you miss the train I'm on, I will be 100, 200, and finally 500 miles away from my home, and I can't go back home to this way. It's a song I love, and the record I listened to repeatedly when I was young was sung by the Brothers Four. On October 1st, 1964, when this song was popular, the Tokaido Shinkansen or bullet train opened between Tokyo and Osaka. And 10 days later, the opening ceremony of the first Tokyo Olympics Games was held. 6 years later, in 1970, the first expo was held in Osaka. Speaking of 500 miles, that is the distance between Tokyo and Hiroshima in Japan. It used to take more than 11 hours by limited express train. But with the opening of the Shinkansen, the travel time required has been dramatically reduced. At that time, PPM were singing, "I cannot go back home," but in fact, it was no longer so impossible. And now, the second Tokyo Olympic Games and the Osaka Kansai Expo have been held. half a century after ppm. The travel time between Tokyo and Hiroshima is only 3 hours and 49 minutes by Shinkansen. And 500 miles is a distance that can easily be traveled by rail for business and pleasure day trips. I am really looking forward to seeing what kind of economic and social transformation and innovation will emerge when the long-awaited Chuo Shinkansen by superconducting maglev technology from Tokyo to Nagoya and further to Osaka starts operating at ultra-high speed of 500 kilometers per hour, or about 311 miles per hour in the near future. Indeed, railway investment creates significant economic effects and innovation by increasing visitor traffic and creating new businesses. In addition, mega events encourage investment in safety and accessibility and will continue to contribute to improving customer experience and quality of life through upgrading the quality of railway service itself. In closing, I sincerely hope that today's symposium will serve as a cornerstone for deepening cooperation between Japan and the United States in the field of railways and transportation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman Shiguri. Next, please join me in a warm welcome for Paul Skoutelis, President and CEO of APTA, as he officially opens today's proceedings.
Konnichiwa, and welcome. Chairman Shikori, Vice Minister Terada, Administrator Fink, Ambassador Yamada. It is a great honor to welcome you to the 2026 APTA GT Rail Symposium. And to all our speakers, participants, and attendees, both here in this room and online, thank you for joining us today. APTA, the American Public Transportation Association, and the Japan International Transport and Tourism Institute, JITTI-USA, have a proud and long-standing relationship. Our organizations have collaborated for many years, bringing together transportation officials from the United States and Japan. We are meeting at a particularly important moment. First, today's symposium is part of the official Cherry Blossom Festival here in Washington during America's 250th birthday year. And I am told, I didn't view it today, that they're almost in full bloom. So it's a beautiful day to go by the tidal basin and see the cherry blossoms. Second, federal funding is spurring historic investments in our passenger rail systems. In fact, we're experiencing the largest federal investment in transit in American history today, more than $200 billion for public transit and passenger and freight rail over a 5-year period. Third, we're working to ensure this level of funding continues into the future to build stronger, more effective passenger rail and public transportation systems across America. With all that, there's no better or more opportune time for this U.S.-Japan bilateral event. I believe that you agree we have much to learn from each other. Just this past November, APTA had the privilege of leading a delegation of 25 transportation leaders on a study mission to Asia. During our 3 days in Tokyo, we had fruitful exchanges with JITRI, GT's parent institute in Japan, as well as with the Japanese Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism, the Japan Transport and Tourism Research Institute, and with high-speed, regional, and heavy rail operators JR East, JR Central, and Tokyo Metro. It was an amazing, amazing 3 days that we spent in Tokyo. They're incredible in terms of the efficiency and the reliability of their services. We gained valuable insights into the innovative policies, practices, and technologies that are driving exceptional service, safety, reliability, and efficiency. We also witnessed an extraordinary commitment to continuous improvement in transit operations and the customer experience. Most important of all, our study mission affirmed the enormous social and economic value of sustained investment in rail transit. The experience inspired us to imagine what could be possible here in North America if we made a similar commitment to improving and expanding our systems. Just 3 weeks ago, APTA released a new comprehensive report on the economic impact of public transportation investment in the United States. The report shows how every $1 billion invested in public transportation, including in our light rail, heavy, and commuter and regional systems, generates $5 billion in benefits. In total, we found that critical public transportation and urban commuter rail investments will create an additional annual impact of $140 billion to the American economy. The themes of today's symposium, the economic value of rail and the lasting legacy of investments for mega events, could not be timelier or more relevant as well. America is experiencing a renaissance in rail. Many major intercity, commuter, heavy, and light rail projects have recently opened, have been upgraded, or are being planned. These investments will have lasting benefits on regional economies and to the quality of life for our citizens. Let me cite a few examples that you hear more about today. Amtrak is advancing the Hiawatha West Line expansion to Madison, Wisconsin, with new stations and track improvements, as well as major infrastructure upgrades to the Northeast Corridor. New York MTA is launching a $65 billion capital plan that includes 60 ADA accessible station upgrades, 75 miles of signal replacement, and the ongoing extension of the 2nd Avenue subway. LA Metro has opened the LAX Metro Transit Center station, connecting Los Angeles International Airport to Metro lines, as well as a major 9-mile light rail extension with 4 new stations and more to come. Boston is modernizing its entire rail system through a multi-billion-dollar capital plan that's focused on stations, accessibility, and fleet upgrades. And cities across North America are hosting the FIFA World Cup games this summer. And as we look forward to hosting the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles and 2034 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City, Utah, there's a lot of work to be done. All this signals a growing recognition that an effective, safe, and easily accessible passenger rail and public transportation system is essential to America's overall transportation network and to the U.S. economy. You'll be hearing about that today from our symposium speakers, all of whom are America's leading voices in public transportation and also members of APTA. These include Jano Lieber of New York MTA, Roger Harris of Amtrak, Carlos Braceras of Utah Department of Transportation, Tom Wright of the New York Regional Plan Association, Janet Walker-Ford of WSP, Conan Chung of LA Metro, and Ryan Cohalan of the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority. We're also honored that with us this afternoon is Federal Railroad Administrator David Fink, who is working very hard across the U.S. to expand and modernize our rail system. We have an exciting program that's planned for you, and we're eager to get started. So I'll conclude my remarks by expressing my sincere gratitude for APTA's collaborative partnership with JITTI. During this time of unprecedented opportunity, we can learn a great deal from everyone's experiences at this symposium. There are many changes coming to transit in America, but what stays the same is the enormous value that public transportation investment brings to people, to our communities, and to the economy, and to the mutual benefits of what has been this wonderful relationship of APTA and JITTI. It's a true partnership. Thank you so much for being with us, and we're looking forward to the conversations today.
Thank you, President Skoutelis. For those who are just entering, another reminder that our headsets offer English in channel 1 and Japanese on channel 3. My apologies, I said 2 previously. It is actually 3. Thank you very much. I now have the honor of introducing the Ambassador of Japan to the United States, Shigeo Yamada. Appointed as Japan's ambassador to the U.S. in December 2023, Ambassador Yamada is a veteran diplomat who previously served as political director for the 2023 G7 presidency. Whether celebrating our shared heritage at the 2026 National Cherry Blossom Festival or supporting critical dialogue like today's event, his leadership has significantly strengthened bilateral ties. We are honored by his participation and deeply grateful of his support for today's symposium. Please join me in welcoming Ambassador Yamada.
Good afternoon. Konnichiwa. It is my great pleasure to join you this afternoon, and I'd like to express my appreciation to JITTI and APTA for making this symposium possible. As Japan's ambassador to the United States, I'm pleased to support the industry, which has long served as both a conduit and, in many ways, backbone of innovation and exchanges that define Japan-US partnership. And speaking about Japan-US partnership, it was just a couple days ago, or I should say last week, that Prime Minister Takaichi was in town. And in her meeting with President Trump, their two leaders reaffirmed their commitment to elevating our partnership to even greater heights. And to me, what was notable was the announcement of a series of concrete projects and initiatives across many fields. For example, in the national security field, the two leaders decided to strengthen our cooperation in co-developing and co-producing critical missile systems and other capabilities in order to enhance our deterrent capabilities in the face of very severe security situation in the region. In the economic field, the two leaders decided to deepen our cooperation in such areas as energy partnership, the critical minerals and rare earth supply chains, and advanced and emerging technologies, including AI. There also was an announcement on the second batch of investment projects under the Strategic Investment Initiative. That is a framework established during the tariff negotiation last year. And one of the projects announced was the construction of advanced small modular nuclear reactors. And I attended both the meeting in the office and Oval Office and also dinner that evening. And I witnessed firsthand very strong bonds, partnership between our two leaders, but more importantly, between our two countries. And one very symbolic moment was the photo opportunity of the two leaders beside a small cherry tree. And that cherry tree was one of the 250 cherry trees Japan is presenting to the United States to celebrate the 250th anniversary of this country. And as President Scotera said, the cherry trees around the tidal basin reached their peak bloom today. And I hope these additional 250 cherry trees will also flourish as enduring symbols of the friendship between the peoples of Japan and the United States for many generations to come. But this friendship needs to be renewed constantly through people-to-people exchanges. And tourism is one of the most powerful tools to promote that people-to-people exchanges. And this year, mega events like World Baseball Classic and FIFA World Cup, they are inspiring Japanese people to visit the United States. And building on that momentum, we are now conducting Japan-US tourism campaign 2026. And in that campaign, the reliable and modern public transportation will play a very important role. So therefore, it is very fitting that we gather here today to reflect on the future of railways, both in Japan and the United States. Looking back, more than 170 years ago, in 1854, Commodore Perry first brought model steam locomotive to Japan, and that was the first train Japanese people have ever seen. And ever since then, the Japanese railroad development started. And fast forward, today, Japan is a global leader in railway innovation, with our system renowned for safety, punctuality, and exceptional customer service. And railways today still connect Japan and the United States by bringing people, goods, and opportunities for exchanges forward. And the Japanese rail car companies have established manufacturing factories across the United States, employing American workers and supplying state-of-the-art rolling stocks to urban transit systems nationwide, including iconic Washington Metro. So I hope today's discussion will further deepen cooperation between our two countries in this railroad sector, and thereby strengthening the Japan-US partnership. So together, let us move our partnership forward with full steam. Thank you very much.
Thank you again to Ambassador Yamada for the kind support. This symposium consists of 3 opportunities to hear from rail experts in the form of keynote speeches and 2 panel discussions, with short breaks to be held after the keynote speeches and first panel. Our first keynote speaker is David Armstrong Fink, Administrator of the Federal Railroad Administration. Formerly President of Pan Am Railways, Administrator Fink led transformative efforts in modernizing operations and advancing safety standards. His leadership in implementing positive train control significantly enhanced operational reliability and reduced rail accidents. Please join me in welcoming Administrator Fink to the stage.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Washington. It's my first year here, and this is my first cherry blossom season. Our way over in the car, the radio did say we are at peak cherry blossom, delivered to you on time, just like your country and our country's railroads. So welcome for you on that. Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me today to join. It's a pleasure to provide an update about the Trump administration's rail priorities and FRA's role in supporting freight and passenger rail. First, I want to acknowledge many of these folks I've just met. Paul I just met. I found out that we're both Penn Staters. We both lived in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and if my dad wasn't transferred with the railroad, I would have gone to the same high school that Paul went to in Neshaminy. So nice to meet you, Paul. Of course, JITTI Chairman Shikuri, Japanese Ambassador Yamada, Vice Minister Terada, and other dignitaries present here. And I want to mention 3 people, 2 that I've just really gotten to know in my new role, Jano and Roger. They don't need any introduction, but Ryan from MBTA. We proved that we can mix freight and passengers and run both of them on time. So I've worked with Ryan for 20 years before I came down here. FRA is proud to have a long-standing relationship with our Japanese counterparts. For many years, FRA leadership and subject matter experts have participated in annual rail safety meetings with the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism to share best practices in rail safety, in addition to a variety of collaborative opportunities to exchange information with Japan Railways. To start off, as many of you know, FRA has a dual mandate: to ensure safety in the railroad industry and to support the development of infrastructure that underpins a modern, efficient rail network. Over the course of FRA's existence, freight rail safety record has been on a positive trajectory for both train accidents and employee on-duty casualties. To accomplish and accelerate this trend, we are pushing forward on several fronts. First, we are aggressively pursuing new technologies that improve rail safety, efficiency, and reliability for workers, passengers, and communities alike. The private sector has been developing state-of-the-art technology to make a safe system even safer. I am committed to ensuring that FRA is a partner in advancing safety innovation instead of being an obstacle. Most recently, that includes successful advancing Class 1 railroads' use of automated track inspection and using real-time data analytics to prevent accidents and increase efficiency. We also need to modernize our regulations to better align with the needs of modern industry. For example, last June, FRA issued 57 deregulatory actions that will update, rescind, or amend burdensome regulations to align with acceptable safe railroading practices in the 21st century. We are building a business-friendly environment that encourages private investment and modernization while holding safety as our highest value. Similarly, we must continue to reform the way environmental reviews are undertaken. This administration has been clear. It should not take years or decades to advance rail projects. Another way I want to ensure FRA is focused on safety and efficiency is through our grant programs. I know firsthand how the Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvements CRISI program can support critical rail safety projects. We will continue to issue notices of funding opportunities for our very popular competitive grant programs like CRISI, the Crossing Program, and the newly redefined National Railroad Partnership Program. Although freight is a high priority, we must not forget about our nation's intercity passenger rail network. Last year, I joined Secretary Duffy and others for the launch of Amtrak's new Acela train sets, and subsequently I helped preview the new Aero train sets, which will make their debut in the Pacific Northwest before being deployed on the Northeast Corridor and nationwide. The increased reliability of these next-generation trains will also significantly enhance capacity on the Northeast Corridor and elsewhere. While we can't approach the success of Japanese Shinkansen trains and networks, we are making strides. Secretary Duffy has established two rail priorities for this year: New York's Penn Station Transformation Project and the revitalization of Washington Union Station. FRA is advancing early activities to renovate and modernize the station, increase concourse capacity and access, enable safer and a more efficient station operations, and expand passenger services to deliver a world-class passenger rail experience, which is now referred to as the New York Penn Transformation. These early activities include procurement of a public-private P3 master developer, which will be announced this summer. Revitalizing Washington Union Station is a top priority for the U.S. Department of Transportation. The department and FRA are working closely with Amtrak and the Union Station Redevelopment Corporation, USRC, first to repair and then to expand this key national asset. To facilitate the station's revitalization, the department, FRA, USRC, and Amtrak agreed to amending an existing cooperative agreement that governs station operations. This amendment allows Amtrak to focus on its rail operations by designating USRC as the station's operator, with the goal of increasing revenue potential and reinvesting such revenues back into the station. The governance, operational, and capital improvements to Union Station required by this agreement will enhance the value of the station for all the parties, enable a more realistic and rescoped station expansion project, improve station functionality and safety, and enhance railroad operations. Finally, with respect to accessibility, FRA funded a multi-year research study to produce universally accessible design guidelines for the next generation of passenger cars. This research has developed recommendations that expands and enhances the current DOT regulations for accessibility on rail vehicles. The recommendations increased accessibility for a modern and larger powered wheeled mobility device. This increases the population of wheeled mobility devices that can be used and served on passenger rail. Now onto the topic of safety. We are in the process of reconstituting the Railroad Safety Advisory Committee by soliciting members. Once complete, we will reconvene RSAC to work on key regulatory initiatives. Second, we are vastly expanding our safety oversight of railroad bridges. As announced last September, FRA was approached by several state partners interested in helping to ensure compliance with bridge safety standards. FRA is transitioning its approach to bridge safety from a traditional inspection-focused model to a comprehensive systemic oversight and audit framework. To support this shift, we have implemented a multimodal bridge inspection familiarization program covering timber, steel, concrete, and substructures. Third, a major goal of mine is to ensure that FRA has enough safety inspectors out in the field so our nation's railroads are able to operate smoothly. In 2025, our inspectors did 5% more inspections than they did in 2024, and I expect us to have also have more inspections in 2026 than we did in 2025. To date, nearly all field personnel have completed the virtually instructor-led bridge familiarization training. This initiative not only reinforces our internal standards, but also extends to state partners, leveraging their resources to improve national rail network reliability. Next, we continue to advance highway, rail, grade crossing safety, and trespass prevention initiatives to address the two leading causes of rail-related deaths. This is a very tough area for us. All of our other safety metrics have been headed in a right direction. Trespasser issues and grade crossing issues have not, and we really have to redouble our efforts on that, and that's going to be one of the things that I really work on while I'm administrator. In April, we will convene the 2026 National Highway Rail Grade Crossing Safety Conference in Atlanta, bringing together diverse stakeholders to discuss best practices and new approaches to addressing these persistent challenges. Finally, we'll continue our special emphasis on programs like the Switching Operation Fatalities Analysis, SOFA, working group, and our Fatality Analysis of Maintenance of Way Employees and Signalmen, FAMES committee. As we look to the months ahead, FRA is carefully monitoring developments associated with the next surface transportation reauthorization. We stand ready to work with Congress to ensure that there is a robust rail title in the legislation to continue our critical work on safety, development, and innovation. FRA welcomes input from all stakeholders on the next multi-year authorization, including APTA. I'm proud to lead the FRA as we continue strengthening our bilateral relations between the United States and Japan. Thanks again for allowing me to address you. I look forward to working with you in the months and years to come.
Thank you, Administrator Fink. Next, we have the pleasure of hearing from Yoshimichi Terada, Vice Minister of Transport, Tourism, and International Affairs at the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism. Since 1989, he has held distinguished leadership roles, including Lieutenant Governor of Niigata and Senior Deputy Director General of the Railway Bureau. With extensive international experience from his tenure at the Embassy of Japan in Spain, he now oversees Japan's global transportation and tourism policies. Please join me in welcoming Vice Minister Terada to the stage.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I am Terada from the Japanese Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism. It is a great honor to speak with you today. Thank you very much. I would like to express my gratitude to Chairman Shukuri of JITTI, President Skotelis of APTA, and all others who made this symposium possible. I would also like to thank Administrator Fink of the FRA for joining us today. And I would also like to thank all the panelists who will be speaking later today as well. As our time is limited, I would like to get started right away. First, I will explain a railway investment in Japan and its impact, followed by a discussion on mega events and railway operations. Next slide, please. Earlier, this was mentioned, but Japan's first Shinkansen line opened on October 1st, 1964. It was constructed in time for the first Tokyo Olympics, which opened 9 days later on October 10th. And it is the orange line that you can see on the screen. The Shinkansen network initially covered only the Tokyo-Osaka route, which is in orange, but today it extends over 3,000 kilometers. The section of the Hokuriku Shinkansen into Nagano, which opened in 1997, was developed in time for the Nagano Olympics held in 1998. It's a little hard to see, but it's actually in the middle of the map. And again, this was in time for the Nagano Olympics. Japan was a pioneer in recognizing and leveraging the utility of high-speed rail. Its network has made an enormous contribution to the development of Japan's economy and society. efforts to expand the network continue to this day. This slide shows the ridership on Shinkansen. Because of COVID, the ridership temporarily declined, but it has since been recovering. Current annual ridership is approximately 400 million passengers. Japan's population is about 120 million, so this means that more than 3 times the country's population rides the Shinkansen every year. This slide illustrates the division of responsibility in developing Shinkansen. This current form is a result of undergoing various changes over time. Specifically, public agencies handle land acquisition, civil engineering, and electrical work. And then they lease the completed facilities to JR, the rail operator. JR then pays a lease fee. Funding for construction is covered by the lease fees paid by JR, as well as contributions from the Japanese government and local municipalities. On this slide, you see the development of the Shinkansen network that brings about various benefits. There's a station called Shin-Yokohama Station near Tokyo, and the population has increased significantly since the Shinkansen opened. As shown in the photo, the left side is the area before the Shinkansen arrived, and the right side is after Shinkansen was developed. And as you can see, the entire area has developed substantially. On the right side, we actually have the Yokohama International Stadium, which was also used as a venue for the 2002 FIFA World Cup. Now I'd like to discuss Kanazawa Station, which is in the northern part of Honshu. In 2015, the Shinkansen was extended to Kanazawa Station. With this, the travel time from Tokyo to Kanazawa was reduced significantly. And now that it's become very convenient to access, it led to an increase in land prices around the area and generated an economic impact of over 400 million US dollars for Ishikawa Prefecture. And the number of tourists visiting municipalities along the Shinkansen line has also increased. And now I'd like to talk about examples from urban transportation. Here is the Tsukuba Express. The Tsukuba Express is a 58.3 kilometer line extending from central Tokyo towards the northeastern suburbs. It was developed to alleviate commuter congestion in the Tokyo metropolitan area and promote development along the route. And it opened in 2005. With a maximum speed of 130 kilometers per hour, it connects Akihabara Station to Tsukuba Station in as little as 45 minutes. I will now explain the development framework for the Tsukuba Express. It may be a little hard to see, but in terms of funding, of the total construction cost of approximately 5 billion US dollars, the national government and local governments each provided 40% in the form of interest-free loans. The rest was covered by 14% in investment, primarily from local public entities, and 6% in debt. So that's how we work together to develop the Tsukuba Express. And we also had some special legal measures for the development. By securing land for the railway project early and reliably, railway construction and urban development moved forward in a cohesive manner. And that was all thanks to the legal measures. I will now discuss the impact that the Tsukuba Express has had on areas along the line. This photo shows Kashiwanoha Campus Station. As you can see, the left side photo is before and the right side photo is after, 20 years later. And as you can see, the area developed quite a bit. And because of this, the population increased significantly as well. And because of that, property tax revenues for local municipalities has also increased. So this concludes my the explanation of the Japanese economic impact of railway development. And now moving on to mega events and railway operations. This was mentioned briefly earlier, but the relationship between mega events like the Olympics and railway operations, it might be easy to understand when you think about how railways are developed in conjunction with events, but there are various, it's a lot deeper than that. So I wanted to explain a little bit about the formation of transportation plans for mega events. So recently, we've had the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, as well as the Expo 2025 in Osaka, Kansai. And so we think about not just the transportation of visitors, but also we want to support the local transportation in a safe and reliable manner. And so for each of these mega events, a wide range of stakeholders, including government agencies and organizations related to various modes of transportation, not just railways, work together to establish committees and consider transportation plans. One example is the railway transportation measures implemented for the Osaka Kansai Expo. Here's a map of the Osaka Metro, and the Chuo line of the metro, this is the green line at the bottom, was extended to provide a direct access to Umeshima, where the venue was located. In addition, a bus terminal was constructed at Sakurajima Station. So this is shown as the blue line. And the JR Sakurajima line enabled access to another venue via shuttle bus. Both the Osaka Metro Chuo line and the JR Sakurajima line increased their frequency of service. And for the JR Sakurajima line, it's mentioned at the top, but the special direct trains were also operated from Shin Osaka Station, which is a Shinkansen station. And I haven't drawn all of them, but we also had numerous shuttle bus services from major railway stations that were available by reservation. And so we were able to support quite a large number of visitors in a safe and reliable manner. For this slide, we show another example, measures to manage crowds of visitors. This is Honmachi Station, a transfer station. It may be a little hard to see, but this is a cross-section, bird's eye view of the station. And there are a lot of riders coming through, and we knew that there's going to be a lot of congestion. So we worked with the organizers, police, and railway operators to address stations in this matter. Specifically, they ensure the safe and smooth movement of people by deploying security staff, installing traffic guidance signs and pavement markings, separating transfer routes, and directing passengers to detour walkways. Next slide, please. In addition, transportation demand management, or TDM, was implemented. This initiative aims to prevent traffic demand from concentrating and alleviate congestion by encouraging behavioral changes among the public. Next slide. And in terms of a mega event, it's also a wonderful opportunity to think about accessibility and improve upon that. And in Japan, we worked on legal measures, and both hard and soft infrastructures were improved to create a barrier-free environment. The ministry that I belong to, the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transportation, Tourism, has set numerical targets for the barrier-free rate of railway stations. And we are also using subsidies and various systems to help that. And in terms of soft infrastructure, my ministry and railway operators are collaborating to promote public understanding. Next slide, please. During the second Tokyo Olympic and Paralympic Games, various initiatives were implemented to ensure safe and secure rail transportation, not just for the Games, but with a view towards the post-Games period. Regarding barrier-free accessibility, existing initiatives were further advanced. For example, by introducing dedicated wheelchair spaces on Shinkansen trains so that several wheelchairs can be grouped together. And we also have a diagram at the bottom of the slide, but we did something called numbering stations. And this was started before the Olympics, but we tried to strengthen it even further. And we thought it would help foreign visitors coming. We also did a multilingual signage as well. We believe that this is something that would become the legacy of the Games. This is just a pitch, but I wanted to explain a little bit about another expo that's going to be held in Japan next year. It's called Green Expo 2027. It'll start in March next year in Yokohama. So I hope you will all visit Yokohama and experience Japan's transportation systems, including the Shinkansen, railways, and buses. That concludes my presentation. I hope it has been of some use to all of you participating in the symposium. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Minister Terada. We'll now have the first break in our program, which will be for roughly 10 minutes. We welcome you to stretch your legs, but encourage you to stay close to your seats. If you're enjoying this program so far, we'd be grateful to receive your feedback in a survey that you have found at your seats, or you can find at the QR code now on your screen. We look forward to having you join us for the first panel discussion, which will begin momentarily. Thank you. We will begin shortly and ask that guests please make their way to their seats. While everyone gets settled, please allow me to briefly highlight our social media channels. JITTI and APTA are active on various social media channels, including LinkedIn and X. We encourage you to follow along with our activities throughout the year. We will now like to begin the first of the two panel discussions, with this one having the theme of railway investment and economic impact. Moderating this discussion is Tom Wright, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Regional Plan Association. A leading expert in urban planning for over 20 years, Tom directed the landmark 4th Regional Plan to modernize infrastructure and combat climate change across the tri-state area of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. He previously was the Deputy Executive Director for the New Jersey Office of State Planning and currently also chairs the New Jersey State Planning Commission and lectures at Columbia University. I will now turn the time over to him to introduce each panelist and begin this section of the program. Thank you.
Thanks so much. It's a great pleasure to be here this afternoon. I want to thank JITTI and APTA for hosting us and putting together this terrific panel. I have the honor of moderating this panel discussion focused on the topic of railway investment and economic impact. And we have a very distinguished panel to talk about this. To my left, Mr. Nobuhiko Takeichi, the Managing Executive Officer of JR West, Toshi Miura, Senior Director from Hitachi Rail, Mr. Jano Lieber, the Chair and CEO of the New York Metropolitan Transportation Authority, and Roger Harris, the President of Amtrak. I'll just say I'm gonna kind of introduce a couple of the issues and then ask each of our speakers to give some opening remarks and then dive into it with questions to try and talk about this important relationship. I think, we all understand the relationship here. Investments in railways enhance interregional access and stimulate the movement of people and goods. They lead to increased economic activity, greater visitor flow, the creation of new business opportunities, and the promotion of innovation, which drives our economies. In addition to the core railway activities, such as developing track and stations, procuring rolling stock, operating and maintaining services, the presence and concentration of supporting industries, including rolling stock factories and related supply chains, generates really substantial economic ripple effects, which contributes to job creation, industrial growth, and the revitalization of local and regional economies in each of the regions that we work in. I have a few slides just to kind of set the framework from the New York region. We can't come from New York to Washington without maybe talking a little bit about what's happening in the tri-state metropolitan region around New York City. In particular, this is one of the region in New York is really the greatest passenger rail network in North America by far. And what we're looking at here, though, is a shared service. Amtrak with the Northeast Corridor that runs through it, New Jersey Transit running the commuter railroad in northern New Jersey, the Long Island Railroad and Metro North, both underneath the MTA, with over 2,000 miles of track, over 350 different stations. This is one of the great commuter rail networks and metropolitan regional rail networks in the world. It also, of course, is augmented at the core of the region by the extraordinary passenger rail system, the New York City Transit Authority subway system, a 24/7 full-time subway system with express and local services, powering over 5 million jobs within just New York City alone, and really driving the economy of the entire region. The thing I wanted to say, though, at the start of this, as a New Yorker here in Washington, is that, and I'll say, I grew up in New York in the 1970s when the subway system and transit was really in disarray. Just over the last 12 years or so, New York City has opened a number of different new projects, extending the number 7 subway to Hudson Yards, where we built out a new business district. Phase 1 of the 2nd Avenue subway, moving, Jano, over 100,000 people probably every single day. 200,000 people every single day. Moynihan Train Hall, where I got on my Amtrak train yesterday to come down here, a beautiful train station next to Penn Station. East Side Access, connecting the Long Island Railroad into Grand Central Terminal, 40% increase in capacity on the Long Island Railroad, and allowing all of those commuters to go to jobs on the east side, a one-seat ride, rather than needing to double back. The World Trade Center hub, where the subways and the Port Authority Trans-Hudson Path subway all connect in Lower Manhattan, and then the Long Island Railroad third track. I would make the argument that any one of these projects from 1950 to 2000, any one of these would have been the single biggest thing to happen in New York over a generation or two. And yet all of these opened in the last 12 years. And then when you look to the future and what's currently underway here, and Jano, I'm sure, and Roger will talk about these, Penn Access, bringing the Metro North system into Penn Station, the second phase of 2nd Avenue subway extending up into East Harlem, a project that's very near and dear to our hearts at RPA, the Interborough Express, which Jano and the MTA and Governor Hochul have championed, to take a lightly used freight rail line and convert it to passenger use, an extraordinary project. And then, of course, the kind of granddaddy of it all, the Gateway Project, doubling capacity between downtown Newark, New Jersey, and New York City's Penn Station, with the expansion and renovation, the transformation of Penn Station at it all. Again, an extraordinary array of projects all underway at the same time right now, being done by the different partners. And so this is a time of extraordinary investment and transformation of our system that over one generation will see a greater change than it has in really over a century. So this is an exciting time for us to talk about perhaps the kinds of investments that will be leveraged, that these investments will leverage, and what kind of economic benefits we can get. So I just wanted to set the stage with that and then turn it over to a first of our panelists, Nobuhiko Takeichi, to talk from the perspective of JR West. Mr. Takeichi, take it away.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I'm Nobuhiko Takeichi from West Japan Railway. I will explain in Japanese.
Today, I would like to talk about the TDO urban development around the Umeda-Kita region. Next page, please. You see, our company, just as you can see on this slide, we were born in about 40 years ago due to the privatization that took place in 1987. We were originally part of the Japan National Railway. And we are, the blue area is where our jurisdiction is. And the Shinkansen, which is a high-speed rail, and also other local routes from urban area to regional areas. We have 4,900 kilometers and about 5 million passengers that we handle every day. In terms of the business fields, we're not limited just in mobility. We also have real estate, retail, tourism, and others. In terms of the revenue structure, about mobility is about 60% and non-mobility is about 40%. Now, I would like to talk about the Osaka Umeda area, which is the second largest area in Japan. You can see the round circled area up on the center of this map. We have 7 stations, 12 routes, about 2.5 million passengers use our lines every day. And we really have a huge success in terms of our urban development. Now, this is a closer up picture. So within the about 0.5 miles range, there are 7 stations, and we have been evolving as in our urban development. And if you look back, you see Osaka in the past was a largest commerce hub founded on water transport. And this is the Osaka Umeda urban development history. So about 150 years ago, there was the urban area was built around on the left-hand side of this map, on the right-hand side, but the station itself was sort of situated a little bit away from the urban area, and then gradually the urban development took place. Now in 1900, the private route has been developed, and the Japanese version TOD was done, and where the hub and then the urban development around the route was born. And Osaka Umeda is situated as a terminal station, and the surrounding region has gone through a huge development. And if you look at the cargo transport, you see because of the canal was built to Osaka Station. Therefore, the region became prosperous as a big hub, cargo hub. And as you can see here, since then, the area has met with the demand of each era. New station was built, the subway was built, and then the area was developed. And now we have the last prime location, which is the Umeda Kita. You see, we call it Umekita. This is a Umeda cargo station, was determined to be relocated. And since then, the urban development discussion among the public, private, and academia started. And the goal was to have built an international competitive hub. Now, as you can see on the left-hand side, on the bottom, we have various features, but today I'd like to focus on 3 things. First of all, on the northern part of the station, we have conducted a drastic improvement of the Osaka station, as well as the improvement of the station facilities. Just so that the station becomes a city, we have built symbolic, big roof and plazas. And then 2 years from now, there will be, as you can see in the green area in the map on the right top, there will be Umekita Development Phase 1 to open, which is connected with the Osaka station. Next, as the policy, the traffic policy, for the generation of large development site, as well as ensuring a good access to the international airport. In 2023, the subway and the new station facility was open. Next, Umekita, Osaka, and Kansai International Airport have been linked through the subway system, and we are making this international competitive hub. Now, in this development site that is born, we have set the urban park as a center, really having a pedestrian-oriented, high-quality urban space. And the station, the surrounding areas of station, as you can see in the blue area in this map, we will create a comprehensive or a huge commerce building in order to increase the value of this property value. This is just a summary. As you can see, Osaka Umeda area is an unparalleled convenience location in Japan. You see, rail is not just a transportation means, but rather we view it in Japan as an urban apparatus. We consider the urban development and transportation policy in a comprehensive manner, and these Japanese TOD will create a sustainable economic impact. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hidetoshi Miura from Hitachi Rail. So I'm surrounded by the customer in Japan and the customer in the United States. So I'm so much kind of feeling nervous about this situation. But actually, I mean, normally we as a kind of manufacturer or engineering vendor is not necessarily to get involved directly about the investment, big project investment and the economical impact. But for us, this is a good opportunity for us to introduce, and we even the technology powerhouse is actually having some contribution and from the investment on the people and also the technology to contribute to the development of the railway. So I just would like to mention about it. Thank you very much. By the way, so I'm going to speak here in English because my AI agent is not well enough to train in a most multi-language. So therefore, I just only speak in English today. Thank you. Okay, so just I would like to highlight who is Hitachi. We are a multinational Japanese-based origined global company, and we are basically the technology provider to technological contribution to these different sectors. Like from the energy sector, the small modular reactors, the Ambassador Yamada mentioned before, and to the AI and the digital solutions. And also our rail business is a part of our group. So combining these available technology and the human resources, we are trying to contribute to the rail industry as well. So for our rail business-wise, we have the 24,000 employees worldwide. So, and then we have the 300 customers worldwide, and we have at the moment 10 manufacturing sites all over the world, and our bases in Japan, and some factories in Italy and for the United States. And then our product portfolio is a very unique portfolio because we have both the vehicles and also the rail control, and as well as so-called digital and the services. We have the contribute to the Japanese high-speed Shinkansen train, and also we have the monorail, Japanese unique technology, and also as well as some of the Euro-based train and commuter train, as well as a heavy rail vehicle for the US market. At the same time, we have the digital ATC Shinkansen, also the signaling, and also the European signaling, as well as some of the CBTC technology, which is applied in all over the world. So nowadays, our focus is how to try to combine the AI and the digital technology into these portfolio, and then trying to helping the industry to digital transformation. So our presence is thanks to our DNA in the United States, which is Union Switch and Signal, who has a long history in the rail industry in the United States. We have the 145 years of the history working in the industry in the US. And then 2.5 thousand employees are working for the North America, contributing to the rail industry in US and also the Canada. So we have the Pittsburgh headquarters in the US and the Canada headquarters in Toronto, and also the signaling component manufacturing site in the Pittsburgh. So for the past years in the US and North America, we have the quite opportunity to work together for the industry in the North America like this. And then that is driving us to having a strategical investment into the US and also the Canada. On the right side, you can see that our Hagerstown factory, which is a vehicle factory fully digitalized, is actually open in the 2025, having the $100 million investment, including the digital enhancement. And also in Canada, we have the 100 Canadian US dollar investment for the next generation development of the CBTC technologies. So I just would like to a little bit to touch about these two cases and then try to giving some contribution for today's discussion. So investment in people and technology for next generation in railway. So as the manufacturer and engineering company, our focus and investment is onto the people and the technology. So as the railway, you are working for the railway industry, which is having a very long asset life. And then also, we cannot just simply thinking about the immediate profit and also the goal. So for the driving the sustainable stability onto the railway system, so we need to invest to the people and through the right technology. So I would like to introduce one case, which is our strategic investment in US Maryland and having the railway vehicle manufacturing site, which is fully digitalized. So we have the 20 metro car per month capacity and also having a couple of the base functionality for the testing truck and etc. And we are having some pipeline on the project. But what I would like to emphasize here is actually we are bringing to the AI technologies and also trying to putting to the digital lab as a hub of the digitization and the modernization of the way of the manufacturing as well as the way of the rail vehicle. So I just would like to show the little cute robot dog on the train, but this is basically our, the robot dog is helping our quality inspector to giving his work very easier. That is one of the just example of the how we would like to combining about the emerging digital technology into the railway, even though this is a very classic mechanical manufacturing assembly area. So another case is actually the more I would like to emphasize onto the government support, and then we are having the effort to invest into the next generation of the people in Toronto for the developing a new generation CBTC technology, but integrated with AI, 5G. And edging computing technology. You see in the rail industry, I can making some issue statement that is how we wanted to attract young generation who is a natural born digital generation. But to do that, we need to having this quite a stimulation to bringing the new technology combined into our traditional technology. And also the railway is becoming quite a great field for the younger generation who has quite talent onto the digital technology coming to the rail industry to work together. So we are having the investment to making that opportunity to capture these younger generation for the more sustainable railway system. I just would like to try to make it open for the other discussion, so I do not conclude here, but I just would like to introduce some of the cases. Thank you.
Thank you. Jano.
I don't find it awkward at all that he knows that I'm buying 2,400 rail cars and a lot of CBTC projects, and he's doing a pitch in front of you guys. It's not awkward. It's the way a good conference of this kind ought to be. I just want to thank JITTI for pulling us together to have these discussions. I think all of us wish we could do more of this discussion with really knowledgeable folks within the agency, and I'm just particularly gratified to be able to hear from Administrator Fink, who has really made FRA a can-do organization in a very short time on a lot of important fronts. There's a lot of politics flying around, but at FRA we have a partner that I think is really making a difference to all of us in the industry, so thank you. What about New York? Okay. We are 40% of the nation's mass transit system, 44% in terms of ridership. We have 72,000 employees. We carry 6.5 million people a day on all of our systems, which is about the same, I think, as the Tokyo Metro carries the subway system by itself. We're always a little jealous of Tokyo in different ways. The question of the economic impact of rail for us is very an easy one because New York is organized around the reality of density. We are 9 times as dense as a Sunbelt city like Houston or Phoenix. We're twice as dense as Chicago, and we could not be the economic powerhouse for the country, or about 15% of the country's economy, if we were not able to bring people together to create value. And more specifically, the way that this, and Tom, thank you, Tom, for doing half of my presentation.
You're welcome.
But the way that the city has developed recently has sort of underscored just how powerful mass transit and, including commuter rail are to our development model recently. And we are doing a ton on the so-called transit-oriented development front, looking for, and this is a Governor Hochul priority, looking for every opportunity to take a huge parking lot and to build a structured parking lot and to put in housing next to rail stations. And we're doing that all over the region. But it also development, the transit-oriented development reality of the New York transit system happens organically, because when you build good transit, they will come. The development and the density happens, and it happens in I dare say, a more economically viable and environmentally sustainable way, because people rely on mass transit. Almost, 90% of the people who come to jobs in the Manhattan Central Business District take transit, or including a few walkers and bikers as well, but it's overwhelmingly transit. And most recently, Tom alluded to a couple of them, our economic growth has been fueled by investments in major transit improvements. The area of Grand Central Station, which is, for many of us, the temple of mass transit in the United States, was kind of down at the heel for many years until about 20 years ago. Grand Central Station was rehabilitated. The Metro-North Railroad, which serves it, and the subways which serve it began to be improved. And lo and behold, since we inaugurated Long Island Railroad service into Grand Central, that's the East Side Access Project Tom mentioned, Grand Central has suddenly become the center of new commercial office development, skyscrapers, in New York in a way that wasn't before. Likewise, the Hudson Yards project, Tom mentioned it, we extended the number 7 line using, under Mayor Bloomberg, using a very innovative value capture mechanism, and lo and behold, we created a whole new downtown which has more commercial office space than the city of Miami. Just by creating mass transit connectivity to a new part of the city. And it was true, I spent 14 years on the rebuilding of the World Trade Center and all of downtown after 9/11, and the rebuilding of the transit infrastructure created what is perhaps the most dynamic mixed-use live, work, play neighborhood in the region, certainly, and perhaps in the United States. Those are the realities of New York. Transit and transportation investment, and rail investment in particular, follows closely the housing development and economic development in general. The Second Avenue Subway Phase 1, which opened a couple of years ago, is a project that had some problems in terms of getting done on time and on budget. I'll say it was before I got there, but the second phase is on budget and on schedule right now. But lo and behold, the completion of the first phase of Second Avenue Subway dramatically increased housing development and the value of all the housing and the retail in that all along Second Avenue in what we call the far east side of Manhattan. So the connection is so direct, and I dare say, I worked for Larry Silverstein, who worked closely with Donald Trump when he was a young man, and he developed the Hyatt Hotel right adjacent to Grand Central. So I know that this president, whatever disagreements and fly around from time to time, gets the relationship between transit and value. In that sense, that we have, because of our density, we have in some ways more in common with some Asian cities, and particularly Tokyo, than we do with, frankly, lots of American cities. And I was in Japan in October and November, not with my friends from APTA, but to visit some of our suppliers and vendors. And I rode the Shinkansen. Boy, I got a little jealous. Roger's going to make me feel otherwise with Amtrak, but I rode the Shinkansen, Kobe, Osaka, Kyoto, Kanazawa, and Tokyo, of course, and I must have ridden the Tokyo Metro 40 or 50 times in a few days, and we did get a briefing from the Tokyo Metro folks about how their maintenance operations up at their yard. And as I said, I was a little jealous, but we are blessed in New York to have you asked about key initiatives. So priority one has been ridership, bringing people back to the Central Business District. There's a direct relationship between our on-time performance and other successful metrics of our service, which are out of sight. Long Island Railroad is 97%. This may not be Japanese standards, but by New York standards, 97% on-time performance and 98% on-time performance on Metro North, on old infrastructure, has really been part of the success story. And in addition to bringing the riders back and helping New York quickly recover, and we have more back to work, I think, than a better back to work track record than almost any American city, has been the fact that finally the political stars have aligned, and we have now a $68 billion 5-year capital program that allows us to fix so much of the 100-year-old infrastructure that I inherited. My predecessors did not have the money to fix, but we're going to do it, and we have the money. And part of that, as I said, is these big investments in heavy rail, both subway and commuter rail, $11 billion in our current capital program to buy 2,000 rail cars, 1,500 subway, 500 commuter rail cars. We issued an RFP for the subway cars just last week. And you just have to note, these are cars that were going to replace the R62s that are over 40 years old, that were purchased by my late great predecessor, Dick Ravitch, from our friends at Kawasaki. They're still in service. God bless you for coming up with the spare parts sometimes. But there's a gentleman in the audience who actually was the project manager for those R62s. So we appreciate you, and but we're going to buy some new rail cars, and I think 2,400 is enough to get a few people's attention. And we're going to invest in a lot more CBTC, and including, I think someone talked about earlier about the barrier-free opportunities. That is a huge piece of our investment to make the entire New York City subway system, basically 500 stations, finally truly ADA accessible. We're doing it 4 times as fast, and that's not just like a disability equity initiative. That's an economics initiative for New York, because if parents with strollers can move around comfortably without having to, get in an automobile and deal with parking and traffic and so on, that's good for New York. If older people can stay in New York and use everything the city has to offer in terms of jobs and culture and the medical system, that's an economic development initiative. So accessibility is also a priority. A lot of this is going to be funded by the uncontroversial program known as congestion pricing. And we're moving forward with that. It's actually been really successful by every metric. And even the drivers, interestingly, the drivers who are benefiting in terms of time, savings, getting through the Holland Tunnel in half as much time, have come to, a lot of them have come to be supporters. So we really are appreciative for the discussion, for the partnership with the amazing rail system that Japan has created, both the subway systems and the intercity system. And I want it easy to hand it over to my partner, Mr. Harris, because what not everybody understands is we're 80% of the ridership in the rail region, but he owns all the infrastructure, so I got to depend on him for almost everything. So with that, thank you again to JITTI and to APTA and also to Tom and our partners on the stage. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Jano. And thank you to APTA for inviting me here today. I want to pick up on several things that Jano mentioned, but I think the really good news in the rail industry in this country is the acceptance and growing popularity of rail. And I think Jano's talking about what they're seeing in New York, but we're seeing it across the country. And for those of you who know Amtrak, I think most of you do, we operate to a large extent in the Northeast Corridor, which has a lot of the density that Jano described that drives the need or the preference for mass transit. But we also have a very large portion of our operation in the rest of the country where we operate on freight railroad tracks. And it's a little bit of a unique situation, so I don't think many other countries have this sort of a setup. But it also means that we're operating in a lot of those lower density cities like Dallas and Phoenix and places, well, close to Phoenix, not quite the city of Phoenix, but a lot of lower density cities. But what we're seeing is there's being this resurgence of interest. We're seeing record levels of ridership in Oregon, Washington, North Carolina, Virginia, Washington State, places all across the country. I think by some measures you could call us a growth story. We are probably the fastest growing railroad in the U.S., at least well, we're the only national railroad, but we've seen record-breaking ridership in 2024, 2025, and the first quarter of 2026, every month has been a record. And so we're seeing a trajectory. And what's very interesting is that prior to 2019, our ridership had been flat to slightly growing. So it had been in the 30 to 31 million customers a year, every year for a decade. And now we're going to carry close to 37 this year. So that's really tangible growth. The revenue's coming with it, so that helps our story, especially with reinvestment. And we've also been able to take advantage of the funds that came from the IIJA. I'll talk about them on the next slide, my clicker that Jano gave me. And it's all around a good story. Picking up on another theme that came up was congestion. So we attribute some of the growing interest in rail around the country to traffic congestion. And this is a really easy trade-off when you look at the project that we did with Virginia, transforming Virginia by rail, a number of years ago. It was really based around the growing unpopularity of traffic congestion in the Commonwealth. And I think quite objectively determined better return on investment in rail than another lane on Interstate 95, for those of you who are familiar with that. And picking up on yet another common theme we have is accessibility. So we also have about 500 stations that we serve around the country. We have a $2 billion station accessibility program. And even though we're not responsible for accessibility in all 500 stations, it's more of about 2/3 of them. We are spending $2 billion by 2029 to get all of those stations up to a full level of accessibility. We have already over 200 stations. We just hit 200 stations a few weeks ago. So it's a very big shout out, I think, to the future. Many of us will benefit from that better accessibility at some point in our lives, and so we'll appreciate the work that's being done today. I mentioned the IIJA, so we're spending about $40 billion that really it's being invested back into the communities where we operate. We are able to, for the first time in Amtrak's history, replace our entire fleet. Essentially, we launched our next generation Acellas last August, which are built in New York State, upstate New York. We introduced, although they're not quite ready for revenue service, that will come this summer, our new Aero products, which are being built in California and North Carolina. They will replace our Northeast Regionals that many of you are familiar with. And also, in the case of the launch service, will be the Cascades service in the Pacific Northwest between Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia. And we also are about to officially release our long-distance procurement to replace our entire long-distance fleet. So if you think about it, it's basically all the customer touch points that Amtrak has from a rolling stock point of view, and that's never happened before. So anyway, big milestone, and so thankful for all of our stakeholders who made the funding for those projects happen. Bridges, we have 9 big bridge projects underway. One of them we opened, or the first part of we opened a couple weeks ago, Portal North Bridge, just west of Manhattan, between Manhattan and Newark, New Jersey. Very exciting. And I think what's so important about that is that all of the taxpayers who have put their hard-earned money to work in our infrastructure are seeing tangible results. They not only can see the building or the bridge be built, but they can now experience more reliable exits from New York City on the first track, and then this fall we will be activating the second track. We also have 3 major tunnel projects underway. Some of you have heard about the Hudson Tunnel project in New York, the B&P replacement tunnel in Baltimore, Maryland, and then the East River Tunnel, which is actually a complete rebuilding of one of the 4 tubes under the East River between Manhattan and Long Island. And you can see there the new laid tracks, the first new laid tracks in the first of the rebuilt tubes. And that will go a long way to improving the reliability of the infrastructure on the Northeast Corridor. And then on the bottom right, we have the first of 7 new train maintenance facilities that we're building around the country. This one is in Seattle. We just finished erecting the structural steel for the building. We expect to have it in service at in this fall, and that will be the facility where those brand new Aero trains in the top left are being maintained, or will be maintained. And then just a shout out to the supply chain. So we serve 46 states in this country, and we're very proud of that. We have vendors in 50 states. So the benefits of the rail industry reach all corners of the U.S. And we even have some major operations in states that you wouldn't think of. We buy steel and other engineered products in Texas and Florida. We buy concrete ties from Wyoming, which is a state we don't even serve. So we've managed to spread the benefit around. But it really is an enormously important supply chain and investment story. And with that, I'll hand it back to Tom.
Okay. Thanks so much. Well, this is a very optimistic and positive opening. With the time we have left, I'd love to drill down just a little bit on kind of the economic benefits that are generated from each of these. I have to say also, Roger, your comment, in a few days, RPA is going to be releasing a report comparing investment in our region between highway and transit. And what we find, maybe not surprising to this audience, is that dollars invested in highway expansion usually fail to deliver the traffic relief and congestion relief benefits that they were justified on, whereas investments in rail have tended to do extraordinarily well, and often ridership even exceeds what was talked about. So if you want to go to the RPA website in a few days, we'll be having that report up live. But if I could ask each of the panelists to drill down with the time we have left, which is just about a dozen minutes, on this kind of question of the economic impact of the investments that you make. And maybe, I mean, the JR West examples and case studies are so extraordinary because the amount of economic development that happens around the stations and the projects that you showed us are immense, obviously. Can I ask you kind of, how are you tracking that, and do you have ways of using that argument to help validate and advance the next generation of investments that you want to make? And after that, maybe I could switch channel, because I'd love to have you talk about New York with that a little bit too, which, you know, the generation of investment we're going through right now, how do you make that linkage? But first, if I could ask Mr. Takeichi to talk about the linkage between the economic outcome of the investments that you're making.
Hi.
Yes. So I actually have a slide to show. So if you could put that up here, please. I'm not sure, maybe they don't have that. There's one that I had added. But in any case, so in terms of the economic impact, one thing I can say is the population during daytime at the Osaka station. When you do a lot of renovation projects, even from the beginning of the construction phase at the Umekita or the Osaka station, the passenger size has increased by about 10%. And then if you think about the property value increase in the Umekita first phase and second phase of reconstruction, the property value of the surrounding area had increased by 210%. So the economic impact really is shown in the real estate value, the property value of the land. And also, this type of investment does really stimulate people's economic activities. And it also brings a ripple effect to the people who live in the surrounding area of the station. So that was what we have in mind as we put in our investment. That is it.
So, Jano.
Yeah, sure. You're right to focus on this because it's hard to generate consensus public support. Roger relies more on the United States Congress. I rely more on the New York State Legislature, led by Governor Hochul, who's very pro-transit. But you're right, especially in a big state like New York, you need to show the economic benefits are not just to the people who will actually use the rail, but much broader. So we do studies of the economic benefit to the whole state of New York. And there was one issued, I don't have the numbers at my fingertips, but it talked about the billions of dollars of economic investment to the farthest reaches of the state of New York. The Adirondacks, up by the Canadian border, Plattsburgh, New York, which is basically a suburb of Montreal, Canada. This is where rail cars and so much of the work is being done. In Rochester, New York, where there's a lot of signaling work, and so on and so on. And we showed, as part of building support for our capital program, that every congressional district in the state of New York, that every state Senate district, Democrats and Republicans both, had multi-million-dollar economic benefits and huge thousands and thousands of jobs coming from the MTA's capital program. And while there is always politics and partisanship never goes away entirely, there's never been an more easily passed MTA capital program than the one we just went through, which is, as I said, $68 billion, a 30% increase over the prior 5-year program. So we've made a lot of progress, and a lot of it is attributable to showing those very economic benefits. And we do the same nationally outside of the state of New York, as Roger does, slightly different map, but not dissimilar.
Yeah. Roger, if I could ask you, since you have to work with, federal, state, and of course even local partners across the United States, how do you kind of find alignment for Amtrak with local communities, and how are those relationships? What kinds of issues come up, and how are you approaching those conversations?
That's a good question, Tom. So outside of the Northeast Corridor, any regional service, sort of intercity service, by law must be supported financially by local government. And so it's an inescapable fact that we have to have a productive relationship with the states where we operate. And it's taken a number of years to mature the process, but it's really about the value for money that we deliver. So, as I said, we're introducing the new services in the state of Washington. There's a tremendous amount of local support for the new Aero trains that are coming because they've seen the value of rail between, say, Seattle and Portland and up into Canada. But we do have to work with our local partners, typically the state departments of transportation, because they need to go to their legislatures to get the funding support, the annual financial support that they give to us. Now, we take our responsibility very seriously in terms of operating the service as efficiently as possible so that operating support is as small as possible. But we also like to think that we can bring value in terms of higher revenues for the states to reduce the amount of financial support required, and try to capture some of that uncaptured financial benefit in the communities. So one of the places where we've been really, really excited about service is on the Gulf Coast, just east of New Orleans, where we launched service last August between New Orleans and Mobile, right along the coast of Mississippi. And we're seeing ridership numbers almost double what we expected in the first place. And the amount of excitement in the community is just tremendous, and the tourism that it's leading to, and the amount of local commerce between the communities. And so this is where people are getting really excited about rail.
Great, great. Toshi, maybe I can ask you, as a Japanese company that has a global footprint really now and is investing in communities across the world, and you showed us all of the levels of investment that you're making in the United States. But there must, of course, be kind of institutional challenges, or as you're expanding in this way. What kinds of challenges or lessons have you faced in terms of trying to do that, and how do you make the arguments in the communities where you're investing and trying to expand?
Okay. Well, first of all, actually, I mean, having the factory, there is a couple of the way of the investment we made and globally, and then just what we find out some of the challenge we have is basically the time scale. I mean, time scale of the investment and return. So I think when we are, as a try to bringing our technology providing capacity or capability in a sustainable way in the long term to the region. So obviously there is a mechanism is having that kind of sustainable business opportunity coming through. But thinking about the asset life of the railway is like 40 years of the 5 years for the replacement cycle. That's which is creating some of the momentum that we are needed to be a little bit challenged to the sustaining, the continuously supporting these the factory footprint. So I think one of the key point is actually combining the long-term asset maintenance together for the investment of the factory capex. So
I think that's a really important point for us, especially in the United States now, where we are in a generation where we're investing, but we haven't always been. And if, if the levels of investment go up and down, then it'll be much harder to procure and keep advancing at the scale we have. Okay, we've only got 2 minutes left, so just a lightning round, but a kind of final question. What do you consider the key challenge? Just very, very brief answers, but the key challenge to rail investment in both Japan and the United States. What's the final thing? What are you focused on most right now to try to solve? And I'll go in this order.
今
We are working on developing hubs, and we have some results, but now we have to think about the next stage. How do we create a value and area management in terms of developing that hub even further? This is something that is that the United States is more good at. So right now, area management is something that the rail operators are working on. But it would be best if we can collaborate a little bit more with local businesses. So now it's a little difficult. They're kind of like a free riding on the system that the rail operators created. So we hope to have more collaboration in the future.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that my answer is already half answered, but actually our focus of the investment is the sustainable people relationship and the supply chain and long-standing do that. So how we are going to making these sustainable continuous operation is basically the key. Thank you.
Jano.
Honestly, I think capacity of industry. We don't have enough bus companies that are competing for work in the United States. And we have only a couple of companies that are qualified to bid to deliver buses to the MTA. We have not as bad a situation, but similar limitations in the number and capacity of our railcar manufacturing industry in the United States that is qualified under Build America and also can satisfy the New York State requirements. And I've got the problem, which is not necessarily this group's problem, but even the construction industry in New York, having enough, high-quality civil construction capacity is the work is mostly unionized and prevailing wage work is a challenge. The MTA is building so much that in those different levels we are taxing the capacity, and we welcome new players and new partners.
And you're competing with the other entities building at the same time.
Amen. I mean, Amtrak. Every time we go to build a rail car, we're competing for space on an assembly line with Amtrak.
Yeah. Roger, last.
Tom, I would echo what Jano said, capacity. Now, in our case, it's train capacity, having more trains, having more track capacity to run the trains on and have it be reliable. But train capacity and the long-term health of the supply chain and the capacity of the supply chain to deliver the assets that we need.
Yeah, I'll just point out that all of you mentioned problems related to managing success and not decline, which is a nice place for us to be. Please join me in thanking the panelists for a great conversation. Okay.
Thank you very much again to Mr. Ray and all our panelists. We will now have a short break with coffee in the foyer. We will continue to welcome your thoughts of the event on our survey, and we will alert you when it is time to return to your seats. We look forward to having you join our second panel. Thank you. We kindly ask guests to please return to their seats. Our final portion of the program will begin shortly. Thank you. We'd now like to begin the second panel discussion and hope that guests can please return to their seats. We hope you had a moment to get coffee or other drink of choice and are ready to begin with the discussions. The theme for the second panel is mega events and public transportation safety. Maybe I'll say it again. If guests can please return to our seats, we will now begin.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. All right, we have a great panel here. We're going to get the conversation going, and we look forward to introducing our panelists here in just a minute. My name is Carlos Braceras, and I'm the director of the Utah Department of Transportation. And you might say, Utah, pretty red state. You're out in the Midwest. You probably don't need transit. What am I doing here? Well, I'll try to set that up a little bit. Actually, as the conversation, when Jana was talking earlier, I was thinking about, I grew up in New Jersey, just outside of Manhattan, and we couldn't get our driver's license till we were 17. I don't know if that's changed since then. And I still remember in 1971, my dad took me down to the Port Authority and taught me how to read the subway map. And for a 13-year-old kid, that was pretty confusing. But that was basically my driver's license. And he gave me, that gave me the license to be able to go see, I was a Ranger fan, I was a Yankee fan, and to be able to basically have that accessibility to things that I really wouldn't have had available to me. Moved to Utah to ski for 1 year, 46 years ago. And here I am in a really, really fast-growing state, which is, believe it or not, the 7th most urbanized state in the country, where 65% of the land is owned by the federal government and another 10% by state and local governments. So we have a very small percentage of the land that's available for people, and we're growing very fast. We're not only very good at having children, but we also have a lot of people moving into Utah. So we're in the process of not only still building highway capacity, we believe strongly that we need to keep building highway capacity, but we're aggressively moving forward on expanding our transit system. We believe transit's a key part of our future for Utah. And so at the Department of Transportation, we don't yet operate transit. We will be here soon in the next year, but we do all the capital development. So we build this stuff. So we build the rail infrastructure, we purchase the rolling stock, and then we turn it over to the operators. And I've had the opportunity, back in 1998, we were preparing for the 2002 Winter Olympics, and I got to go to Japan and to learn from the Japanese on how they planned and operated for a very, very large event. And I felt incredibly successful, and we learned so much from our friends in Japan during that visit. And we went into the 2002 Olympics, and we set a specific goal that transportation wouldn't be noticed. And because we believe that when transportation isn't noticed, it's working. People don't really think about transportation unless you screw it up. And that's not usually a good association for us. We like to make sure that every journey is perfect. And so we're now on the venue of preparing for the 2034 games. That seems like it's a long way out, but there's a lot of work to do. And from our perspective, we're not doing any permanent infrastructure just because of a mega event. We want to make sure that our long-range plan, that we look at all those projects and we say, what projects should we accelerate, get in place for that 2034 games. And so really, we're here to have a conversation about, how do you prepare for and operate a specifically rail transit for mega events, while at the same time maintaining that function that every one of your citizens relies on, because it just has to work, right? People have to be able to go where they want, when they want, how they want, and to do so safely. And so I'm going to just introduce our panelists, and they're all going to have an opportunity to share their stories, and then we'll get to some questions and answer, and look forward to that. To my left, Noriyashi Yamagami, Managing Executive Officer of the Tokyo Metro. Following that is Kiroshi Yukishi. Thank you. Executive Officer, Osaka Metro. Janet Walker-Ford, she's doing dual roles. She's the Secretary-Treasurer for APTA, and I had that opportunity to do that for quite a while for our ASHTO Association. So it's a lot. I know the work it takes, but she's also got a real job, or a full-time job, working with WSP. And then we're a little out of order here, but Ryan is the next from where all my family lives, Massachusetts Bay Area Transit. So, and he actually lives close to where my mother lives still, so that's pretty cool. And then Conan Cheng from LA Metro. And so with that, let's start off and begin your presentation. Sure. And
yes, thank you very much. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Noriyoshi Yamagami from Tokyo Metro. I'll talk about how Tokyo Metro has enhanced safety and accessibility through the preparations for the Tokyo 2020 Olympic and Paralympic Games. Yes. We carry nearly 7 million passengers every day. We put highest priority on safety and accessibility for all passengers to use with confidence. Today, all of our 180 stations have platform screen doors and the elevator accessible routes. These improvements were advanced significantly by the Tokyo 2020 Games, which served as a catalyst. In 2013, Tokyo was selected as the host city for 2020 Olympic and Paralympic Games. We were expected to carry most of the spectators of over 10 million. We had to address how to balance the transportation demand by the Games with the regular daily demand. The Games were eventually held in sorry about that. I didn't notice that. The Games were eventually held in 2021 without spectators due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But the preparations themselves significantly enhanced our system. To prepare for the Games, we set 3 key perspectives, namely world-class safety, user-friendly and comfortable use, and enjoyable experience. Following these, we conducted a comprehensive review of existing safety and service level. Based on this review, we identified the gaps and implemented measures necessary for the Games. Yes. Let me start with the perspective provide world-class subway safety. We focused on 3 key areas here: platform doors, disaster preparedness, and barrier-free facilities. The second perspective was make subway user-friendly and comfortable. We addressed passenger information, multilingual services, and onboard environment. To prevent passengers from falling on track, we expanded the installation of platform doors across our network. We have also tried to eliminate the gaps and step between trains and platforms. As shown on this slide, these measures were accelerated in preparation for the games, which led to 100% installation rate as of today. By fiscal year 2025, all stations have completed providing at least one elevator accessible route, ensuring step-free access across the entire network. This represents a major improvement from just 78% in 2013. Platform information displays and ticket vending machines support multiple languages. Station staff were equipped with iPad and with smartphones to communicate more effectively with international passengers. Recently, the number of international passengers have been surging in Tokyo, and these initiatives continue to support our services. The preparations for the Tokyo 2020 Games helped us comprehensively enhance Tokyo Metro's service system. Although the games were ultimately held without spectators, many of these measures, including congestion visualization and transport demand management, are utilized in our current operations. I hope that our experience will be of some reference to you. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kiyoshi Eguchi with Osaka Metro. Today, I would like to introduce the roles Osaka Metro played at the Expo 2025. I'll speak in Japanese from now on.
First, this is an overview of our company. So Osaka Metro is based in Osaka City, which is about 500 kilometers from Tokyo in western Japan. And the total length is 141 kilometers. We have 9 lines, 134 stations, and we serve about 2.6 million people per day. Osaka Metro became privatized in 2018, and we worked on urban mass. So we have been working to make Osaka even more convenient and accessible. And now I'd like to talk about Expo 2025. The Expo was held last year from April 13th to October 13th. So that was about 184 days. And the cumulative attendees were about 29 million people. And Osaka Metro really emphasized our work on Yumeshima, which is the local station, and that was about 40 million passengers who passed through Yumeshima, and we had a headway of about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and we did that for 12 hours a day. Next, I want to show you the access routes and the expo venue. So Osaka Metro is in the center of Osaka City, but the venue is actually near the bay. So as Vice Minister Terada mentioned, the Chuo line is, Vice Minister Terada talked about the Chuo line, and now I'm focusing on the fourth line. We didn't yet have an extension going all the way to Yumeshima, so we needed to construct that as well. And in addition to that, we wanted to make sure that people can transfer easily from the Shinkansen, and so we worked on Honmachi and Benten Eki so that there is less congestion. Now I'd like to talk a little bit more about the details. I apologize that there's a little bit of overlap with the Vice Minister Terada's presentation. So the extension was 3.2 kilometers, and Osaka Prefecture and Osaka City worked on the infrastructure. And Osaka Metro worked on the design and the actual implementation. We had quite a tight timeline, but we needed to work very fast. And here's Yumeshima Station. So we have about 30,000 visitors per hour, or we wanted to have about 30,000 visitors per hour, so we created a very large station. And usually the minimum headway is about 3 minutes 45 second intervals, and we have about 358 train services per day. But during the expo, we had 2 minute 30 second intervals and 755 trains per day. Now I'd like to talk about the congestion measures. So we worked on Homachi Station and Bentencho Station, which usually are very crowded. That's what we learned through simulation exercises. And so we worked on the following measures. Other measures include new train cars, as well as new platform screen doors. And you can read the rest on the screen. And during the expo, I wanted to explain a little bit about how we operate the trains. We increased the station staff as well as various security staff. And again, we have 700 trains per day, but we also had various personnel stationed as well. We also did some ticketing control to make sure that only a certain number of people passed through the station. Again, this depended on the congestion situation, but we sometimes had to limit the people coming in. Also, we tried to maintain the 2 minute 30 second headway as accurately as possible. And I've written some of the details there. In summary, we thought the ticket control working with passengers was really effective. For people who are coming into the station, the ticketing control went really well. But for people who are exiting the station, we didn't quite have a ticketing control system. So that's something that we needed to learn from. And based on that, the Osaka Metro worked really well for 184 days, so no single person was injured, even though it was super crowded. Thank you.
Janet?
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Carlos, thank you for moderating this session, and may I bother you for the
clicker,
please? Thank you very much. Thank you, and thank you for this incredible forum. Thank you, Paul, and our host here. I'm Janet Walker-Ford. I'm with WSP, as Carlos mentioned, and WSP is a global engineering, transportation, infrastructure advisory company, and I lead our advisory and planning business as the business line executive, and like our colleague from Hitachi that was between clients on all sides, I happen to be sitting to the right of two of mine, so I'll try to move this right on along. But I'm here to talk about mega events and from a perspective of the consultancy community. Okay. When cities host major events, the FIFA World Cup, the Olympics, or the Full Rock Festival, the biggest moments on the global stage are not just hosting spectators, as we all know, and it's been discussed already today. They're living on the world's largest stages. For a brief moment, the world is watching how cities, regions, and nations move, how they welcome and how they perform under pressure. That spotlight creates a powerful opportunity to not just deliver an event plan, but to plan for a brighter future. Major events have a tremendous opportunity for legacy, has been very much talked about today. They aren't just about handling a surge, there's a chance to raise the everyday. Because when transportation plans for legacy, and that's sustaining, right? We're not just moving crowds, we're strengthening our systems, supporting communities, improving safety and security, and leaving things in a much better place as the spotlight moves on. And at WSP, we like to think of those events as a litmus test to our cities, for our agencies, and for the work that we do with our cities on a daily basis. What we're seeing here across the U.S. cities is a shift from planning for an event, which spend a lot of time planning for events, to using major moments to strengthen the everyday systems. In Seattle, the FIFA Club World Cup was treated as a system-wide stress test, so to speak, ahead of the region's first World Cup. Not just service levels, but operations, safety, customer experience, and communications. The focus is on learning early, a test, grounding decisions in real life conditions, and being better before the world actually arrives. If I switch to Philadelphia, they're also facing a challenge. Their challenge is a bit different. 4 major events in just 4 months. PGA Golf Championship, FIFA World Cup, the Major League Baseball All-Star Games, and America's 25th anniversary, all in just 4 months. That compression changes everything. Instead of a separate playbook, SEPTA is treating it as just one large program, one integrated operations framework designed for repeatability. And in Los Angeles, and you'll hear more about that from the expert here in a few minutes, it goes even further. As Conan will share, the World Cup is just the dry run for the main event, which is in 2028. Through LA Metro Set Go program and in collaboration with APTA, they've been able to move forward with, as well as WSP, they've been able to move forward with a program called Set Go. Major events are a learning platform for agencies across the nation, and Set Go is special events, transportation, guidance, and opportunities where we're capturing lessons learned in safety, workforce development, operations, and customer experience so improvements don't end when the event does. And I'm sure our esteemed moderator can share the innovations for leading those efforts in Utah as well. Different cities, different pressures, but the same mindset used to spotlight on how we build systems that work better for everyone involved. Across the nation, the takeaways are that transportation is where success or failure shows up immediately. But mega events don't just succeed because of a single asset or agency. They succeed based on how well systems work together. Transportation alongside energy, public safety, land use, workforce development, and other public realm. That's how we take a moment and make it a multiplier by planning collaboratively and investing intentionally on major events and leaving behind stronger coordination, collaboration, more resilient operations, integration of safety, and better everyday experiences for the communities that we serve. One of the most successful mega events aren't just transportation projects, right? They are community projects with transportation that are at the very center. I don't often think about the moments from the Paris Olympics. People were tired, right, Reed? They had long distances to travel. They had waited. And as they moved through the metro, transit employees lined the walkways, not to apologize or to explain, but to simply say, thank you. The moment is a powerful reminder that work isn't just about the perfect operations, although we try. It's about how to show up for people together on the biggest stages of the world. Across all of them, the takeaways are the same. Transportation is where success or failure shows up immediately, but mega events don't succeed because of a single asset or agency. They succeed based on how well systems work together, transportation alongside energy, public safety, land use, workforce development, and the public realm. That's how we take these moments again and we make those moments multipliers. And as I wrap up, I'd like to say that we continue to think about these moments, and I think that all the lessons learned will contribute to the major events that are here to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Such an honor to be here before you all today. My name is Ryan Caholen. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the MBTA. Today, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the MBTA, our history, and how we handle big events in Boston. So a little bit of history about the MBTA. We opened our first subway in America in 1897, and today it's become the 5th largest public transit system in the United States. We serve 178 cities and towns across Massachusetts, and on an average weekday, we provide approximately 1.2 million rides across all of our modes: subway, bus, commuter rail, ferry, and paratransit. Over the years, Boston, we've hosted a lot of mega events, for everything from sport championship parades to outdoor concerts to the annual Boston Marathon. And many of these events, they do occur on weekdays, which means the system has to support both the daily ridership, but also the event-related demand, and often within very tight time frames. Usually those events compete directly with our peak periods, and all the stakeholders involved, all they know is they want to get to where they want to go. So when we do have those extraordinary volumes of riders converge at the same time, we need to operate at full speed. And by that, I mean that the little things, vehicles have to be available, stations have to be functional, clean, and work at full capacity. Accessibility enhancements, elevators, escalators, stairways, that's not the time to have any of those assets not available. We have to be able to absorb those surges, all while maintaining a level of performance. In order to do that, you have to really watch the foundations of your system. It's infrastructure, it's vehicles. Those areas have to be strong leading up to and during these events. Over the past several years, the MBTA is really focused on strengthening that foundation. We've been able to rebuild critical infrastructure, signals, communication systems. We've replaced miles of track, all to ensure that trains can travel safely and quickly across our system. I talked a lot about vehicles. We've replaced our oldest subway cars with newer, faster, more reliable vehicles, all with today's most current safety standards and accessibility enhancements. We rebuilt 35 stations across the system to make them fully accessible to ensure that everyone can ride our service. And we extended commuter rail service down to the south coast of Massachusetts, which is an area that hasn't seen train service in 67 years. We just concluded our 1-year anniversary on that service yesterday. And we know there's more work to do, but these improvements have increased reliability, on-time performance, and they've strengthened our ability to meet the needs of our riders. Again, the regular daily ridership, but also the event-driven ridership. So when it comes to mega event operations, we have a pretty regimented process, and it's worked well. It's served us really well over the years. Again, whether it's a sport championship parade, special event in Boston, we host them all. So we have a lot of practice, but this system has worked well. But keep in mind, most transit systems, they're built to handle that recurring rush hour ridership, but not necessarily cater to those mega events. And as I mentioned earlier, when you have both of those going on the same Wednesday afternoon, that can get really challenging. A lot of newer systems, they're built around allowing for those bumps in ridership, but certainly in Boston, for those of you who have not been to our system, there's not a support column that you can't touch without touching the other one. It's those little things that make things like passenger wayfinding, how we communicate with passengers, how we assist passengers, and we do an awful lot of it manually with people. So having all those teams on hand to execute, so important. We need to also be aware when you talk about things like World Cup coming to Boston, which we're also hosting this summer, being able to communicate multi-language, breaking down the typical translation processes that we use for a schedule change or a service change. It's really a whole new way of looking at how we handle these events. We saw earlier about crowd flow modeling. In the last 5 years, we've done an awful lot of modeling, whether it's to support new construction, to enhance things like fare collection with the installation of fare gates at our major terminals in Boston. That modeling has been single-handedly probably the biggest benefit to how we design, lay out, and plan for passenger flows, in particular when you have to capture people getting onto the trains and also off of the trains. And those little details, the simulations, the tabletop exercises that go with it, that go into these to these mega events, they're invaluable. And make them hard. If I could offer advice, add the inject that you don't really want to. Because we always revert back to how we planned and how we trained. So when things do get chaotic and you have a train with 1,000 people on it looking for a place to go, plan accordingly. Don't be afraid to challenge yourselves, challenge your staffs, and put some of that pressure on your system to make sure it can absorb it and rebound. Actual day of the event, we follow I'll call it an emergency operations center posture. All of the leads from all of our key stakeholders, including transit police, we're face-to-face in one room looking at all the system data in real time, cameras, train location, so that when something does start to go sideways, we can make those real-time decisions. We don't have to necessarily go through several layers. Ultimately, though, as you prepare for these events, those decisions, they don't necessarily have to come from the very top. So as you do lead up to these events, and try to empower your workforces. And we've seen a lot of success over the last 2.5 years within the MBTA. I don't need to make every decision. I can. Some people don't like that. But I'm there to guide, to support, and ultimately direct if need be. But if your teams out in the field during those events are empowered to make those decisions, it's really going to enhance the passenger experience. Because ultimately, those are the folks waiting on the train, trying to get to where they have to go. Talked a little bit about 2026 and World Cup, and like so many other cities, we're hosting FIFA World Cup. We're hosting the tall ships back to Boston for the first time in over a decade. Of course, we have the 250th anniversary. So there's a lot going on this summer in Boston. But that framework that I've described, that really helps guide our work as we look to what's going to be a very busy summer. Specific to all things FIFA and World Cup, Gillette Stadium, home of the New England Patriots, that is being renamed as Boston Stadium for this event. Now, that's just about 30 miles away from downtown Boston. So we're going to be relying heavily on our commuter rail operations to move just about 20,000 people per match between Boston and Boston Stadium. So the coordination that has to go into that between commuter rail, which traditionally has always operated sort of as its own thing. Some history on me, I was the chief railroad officer, as Administrator Fink alluded to, for many years. So commuter rail certainly holds a special place in my heart, but all of a sudden one day I found myself shouldered with all of the modes. So trying to get those walls, and honestly, as I reflect, some of the walls that I built, trying to knock those walls down and saying, you know what, there's probably a different way. It's been interesting, it's been humbling, but we need to make sure that once folks get off of a commuter rail train, for example, our first match is at 9 p.m. It's a 9 p.m. start time. Means those last commuter rail trains back into Boston, they won't arrive until approximately 3 a.m., which means our metro system, which typically is shut down between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m., we're going to run 24 hours on that day for the first time ever in the history of all things MBTA. And that planning to get to that point, that began a year ago to make sure that we have all the right resources, but something as simple as the computer systems that support your operations, they have a clock. They need to end one day at some point before they can start the next. And honestly, I think the people part was easy. The equipment part was easy. The maintenance was easy. Solving that problem was not so easy. So it's the little things that'll get you. When we looked at FIFA and what that was going to bring, we knew that our station in Foxborough, which is built around primarily football games or New England Patriots football games, we needed to expand that due to the masses of people and some of the guidelines that FIFA has for exiting those events. So we made the decision to fund and construct a second platform, fully ADA accessible, and this is interesting because a lot of people say, well, why can't you just build one lower? Just have a low-level platform. It'll be quicker, it'll be cheaper, it'll be easier. But I put my railroad hat on, and I know that it takes 3 to 5 seconds for one person to step up a set of stairs into a rail car, and if there's an ADA accessibility issue, that just adds to time. But you do that over 1,400 people, 1,600 people per train, the seconds turn into minutes quickly. So it was a no-brainer investment on our part, and that's an asset that's going to be there now for the next several decades to serve any service, potentially expanded service, to events held in Foxborough at Gillette Stadium. I think one of the big things I heard today, public transportation, it's part of the experience. Whether you're going to World Cup, visiting a city, or taking part in any major event, we're part of the experience, but we're not the main event. We always try not to be. We try not to be the headline. We're not the main event, but when 1 million people get home safely at the conclusion of an event, at the end of a big night, that's really the win for us. And we don't need that broadcasted, but we know the work that goes in. We know that we're not the big event, but in our minds, when our workforce goes home and we all go home, we know that we did it right. And that's what we're here for. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Conan.
All right, thank you. And thank you, JT and APTA, for inviting LA Metro to this panel presentation. My name's Conan Chung, Chief Operations Officer at LA Metro. I do have a couple slides, hopefully they'll come up, but I just will start a bit about LA Metro. LA Metro, oh, thank you. All right, so LA Metro is not just an operator of bus and rail service. We're a full-fledged transportation agency. We have about 2% sales tax that comes to LA Metro every year. That equates to about $4 billion a year. Now, we have obligations within that money. We have to fund transportation projects throughout the county. We have 88 cities in the county of LA. We provide funding for local streets and roads. We also provide funding for metro operations, as well as 17 major regional transit authorities in LA County. And we also have an obligation to build many projects that are within the expenditure plans of these 4 various measures that make up the 2%. So you can see here that we are an operator, we're a funder, we're a planner, constructor. Basically, if you live, work, play, entertain in LA, you're probably using Metro. When you look about Metro in terms of our budget, we have a $9.4 billion budget every year. We have about 12,000 employees and growing because we continue to grow the system. I'll talk a little bit about that. We say we're the second busiest, largest public transit agency in the US. Ryan, my friend here, can counter that if he wants to. Chicago's not here. New York, I think, left the room. So I'm going to stake that claim. We have about 1 million passengers a day that we carry on our bus and rail system. We have the largest light rail system in the U.S., and in fact, we just extended our A line out to Pomona, and that makes it the longest light rail system in the world. I don't know of anyone who's ridden end to end, but maybe there may be one person. We have a large bus fleet, and we have about 2,100 buses in our bus fleet. So talking about major capital projects, we continue to grow. We have a $33 billion capital program that's ongoing right now. You can see several projects that are in construction. The D line, which is our Metro subway extension out to the west side, is a critical component. And in fact, we're going to be opening our phase 1 of the Purple Line extension on May 8th. So please pack your bags, come out to LA, enjoy the sun, enjoy the festivities. We're also working on the East San Fernando Valley light rail line up and down one of the busy corridors that's in a very transit dominant area within LA County. The G line improvements, this is actually a bus line. We'll call it pseudo rail because it's a bus rapid transit. It has its own right of way. And we are actually making it sort of convert somewhat to a rail system with gates to protect our buses in this case, and also grade separation across some of our busy intersections there. And then we have there the I-105 express lanes. That, again, is not rail, but we do have rail running down the 105, so I added that to this slide. When you look at our planning program, again, we're continuing to advance a lot of different projects. We have about $80 billion worth of projects that are currently in planning, most notably the Southeast Gateway line in an area where there's a lot of demand, but we don't have a lot of good fixed guideway service. Vermont Transit Corridor, which is one of our busiest bus lines, and also the Sepulveda Transit Corridor, and that's arguably the most congested corridor in LA County. And you can imagine that's very congested considering that I'm talking about LA. Operations, we are a multimodal agency. We have bus directly operated. We also have some contracted service. We run light rail, we run heavy rail metro. We also have microtransit. So we have 8 different microtransit zones that allows people to access our fixed guideway system, but it also provides some circulation and accessibility within areas that have lower density that don't really lend itself to mass transportation. Bike share is another type of mode that we support and we operate that provides that first and last mile connection to our fixed guideway. Van pools are important within the county as well. We have one of the largest van pool programs in the country, and that's actually one of the modes that makes money for Metro. It's a profit center. So it's interesting to note that. But it is a mode that we use within this network of transportation. And then express lanes, as I mentioned right there. So operations priorities, obviously our first priority is to provide that clean, safe, fast, and reliable service every day on all of our modes. But as I mentioned, we're continuing to grow. Just over the last 2 years, we opened up several lines. We opened up the K line on Crenshaw. We opened up our LAX MTC transit center at the airport. And we also opened up the A line foothill extension out to Pomona, which is one of the event venues for the 2028 Olympic and Paralympic Games. We're continuing to grow, as I showed you. So my team is always busy doing their day job, but also moonlighting here, doing systems integration testing, doing their pre-revenue operations, training operators, hiring a lot of operators, and we're buying rail cars. And so we have several procurements, several rail car contracts currently underway to be able to deliver upon these mega transit projects that we're building. And then finally, mega special events, which is what we're here to talk about today. And as far as mega events, we have several Janet alluded to earlier on. We have the FIFA World Cup that's coming this year, and I think it's 80, oh my gosh, I think it's like 80 days or less and counting. We have a countdown clock in our champions room. We don't call it a war room, we call it champions room. And I hate looking at that every day. But we are continuing to prepare for that. That's going to really set the foundation as we move forward to the Super Bowl coming in 2027. That's the American version of the football. This is our second time. We did host it in 2022. We're looking forward to hosting the Super Bowl again. And of course, it culminates here with the 2028 Olympics and Paralympic Games. And LA being a sports and entertainment capital in this country, we are no strangers to mega events, but we always take the opportunity to take each one of these events, figure out what we've done, really assess after action what we can learn from it, and take those lessons learned and put them into best practices over the next couple special events. So whether we're talking about supporting Taylor Swift and the Swifties, over here we put in we actually just started our ambassador program shortly before this, and they're a great hit just helping people who aren't used to navigating our system, getting to where they need to go. We had station takeovers. We renamed the stations in honor of the singer, and that was something that the Swifties love to see as well. These are people, these are younger generations. They like transit. They were pushing transit as the opportunity to get to her concert series. And I think a lot of the cities around the country that were fortunate to be able to host Taylor Swift's Eras tours actually saw a big boost in ridership because of this. And so these are things that we want to cultivate. These are things that we want to support because this is what helps us grow the next generation of riders. Dodgers champion parade. This was the second year in a row that we won the World Series. No one from Toronto here? Okay. New York left? Okay. So I can show this as well. You can see a lot of Dodgers blue in this slide here. You can see a lot of people here, a lot of crowd management going on. Actually, it was interesting because the first year, 2 years ago, when we won the World Series, we had just opened up the regional connector, which is a light rail system that connects 2 other light rails through downtown LA. We do have one station there, the Bunker Hill Art Station, that is about 10 stories underground. So we don't have stairs, we don't have escalators coming up. We just have 6 high-speed elevators. And you can imagine having trains coming in, crush loads every 4 minutes, and if one of those elevators goes out, you have a serious problem. And so that was a critical choke point that I saw that first year. We did a lot this second year to really try to manage crowds, make sure that we had order within the station on the platform up to the mezzanine, all the way up to the street and the bridge level, and it worked a lot better there. You can see that we have staff there just showing people the way to go to ensure that people are moving in an orderly fashion. And then finally, we always want to throw a little bit of surprise and delight. We want your experience and the excitement of the event to start and end at Metro. And so for the Rose Bowl, Rose Parade, I don't know how my picture got in there. Talk to my staff about that. But we were giving away roses to all the excited fans, especially the Indiana fans. We were giving out roses at the Rose Bowl, Rose Parade. Didn't matter if it was at our station, at someone else's station, downtown, whatever. We just wanted people to be happy and to be excited, not only about the event that they're going to, but also being excited about Metro and being a part of Metro. So Janet mentioned the Ready, Set, Go, so I don't need to mention that, but basically what we're trying to do, actually she didn't quite mention it, we've been working on this workshop series in conjunction with APTA for the last 3 years. And we've learned a lot working with all the various transit agencies across the country on everything that everyone does in terms of preparing and delivering on mega special event transportation. And so we've codified this with the help of WSP in this Ready, Set, Go playbook that we've put out to the industry, and thank you, APTA, for helping us put that out. Within our World Cup planning, we're really following the model of this. You can see on the right-hand side, we have 16 different work streams going on. They're focused on 3 aspects of your travel journey. The first one is service. So that's the routing, the schedules, the operations, getting the buses and the trains prepared. As Ryan mentioned, you don't want to see those trains and those buses break down when someone's trying to get to the quarterfinal match. So you need to do your preventative maintenances early. You need to have some resiliency in your system, some redundancy. Make sure your staff is out there. Make sure you have your parts and supplies and your equipment is working in good order. We also want to make sure that security is considered significantly in all aspects of transportation. And then when you talk about getting to the system, that's the access part of that. And that starts from you understanding how to get to the system. Because if we don't tell you how to get to the system, we don't tell you how to pay, you're not going to use the system. You're going to use something else. So it's critical in terms of marketing, communications, making fair payment easy. The infrastructure in our facilities has to be inviting and clean and safe and reliable so that you can access the specific services. And then finally, the experience, as I mentioned. We want to be your first and last touch point for the events. But what I will notice there is the MVP program, as Ryan mentioned. This is all hands on deck. And our CEO, Stephanie Wiggins, is really pushing a culture within our organization so that whether you're normally an accountant at the agency or engineer or whatnot sitting behind your computer, you're going to be out in the field greeting people, helping people as they try to navigate our system. This is a team event. I'd talk real quickly about this. I know this is a rail symposium, but we are bringing 300 buses into play here because we do have to collect people and connect them to SoFi Stadium, or LA Stadium as they call it now, for FIFA. You can see here 12 different transit agencies across the county that we're working with to provide that service. Emergency operations, this is critical. We just stood up our new ESOC about, I'd say, 6 months ago or so. And so this is our sort of really our brains of our security. We have LAPD, the sheriffs, we have our transit security, contract security, our ambassadors, homeless outreach, everyone's in this building working together side by side. We're piping in all of our CCTV from buses, rail stations, and so forth into this command center. Consistent look and feel, this is also critical. When you start thinking about us coordinating with 12 different transit agencies and a charter company, everyone's gonna have a different looking bus. They're coming from probably 14 different locations. Some of them are metro, some of them are not. So we have worked with FIFA to come up with a kit of parts that we're pushing out so that when people see this kit of parts, this look and feel, they'll know that it's part of FIFA. Finally, we did talk a bit about lasting legacy, and really, we want to use these special events to promote transit, to build our ridership, and continue to improve upon our system. Thank you. Back to you, Carlos.
Well, thank you to our presenters. I appreciate that. You know, when I listen to all of your presentations, what feels to me at the foundation of everything, and it's people. It's people doing amazing things for people. And we sometimes get excited about the stuff, you know, the building of things and the infrastructure, but we have to always remember we're doing this for people. And I was thinking back to, I had an opportunity to participate in a Federal Highway-sponsored international scan probably 18 plus years ago. And I was sitting at dinner with the Minister of Transport for Sweden, and she said something that still resonates with me because, you know, as an engineer, I was very focused on the building of stuff, the maintaining of stuff, and she said, "We are travel agents." And I said, "Huh, I'm not a travel agent." She said, "It's about the journey," and I think Conan, you mentioned journey. It's about the journey for people, and so. As you think about that journey, that experience that people have, it's not just the one mode, perhaps. It's going from a plane to a train to a bus, walking. I mean, that's an entire journey. Maybe share with us some experiences or lessons learned that you've found in working with other agencies to try to piece together that journey, even if you're only responsible for a piece of that. Thoughts? Yeah.
Yes. Yes, seamless transportation is very important for all passengers, all travelers. And so we are very much interested, we put emphasis on collaboration between other, especially rail operators, because, you know, railway network in Tokyo is very dense, but sometimes for inbound tourists, it might be complicated, it might be puzzling. So information providing is very important. So from the experience of Tokyo 2020 games, at that time, we have already equipped smartphones with all station staff. But nowadays, all station staff are equipped with iPads. To provide more effective information so that the inbound tourists can travel with confidence. And for, yes, wheelchair users or disabled travelers and passengers with luggage, you know, barrier-free accessibility information is also important. So we provide those information not only for our station, but also other train operator stations as well. So as such, I think information is a key to assist. travelers.
Thank you. Kuroshi, experience in Osaka?
Yes, what I learned in Osaka, especially the World Expo, is first of all, as you said, I think rail transportation is really a method to go to the destination. And so we want to make sure that that method is something that's reliable and safe and something that is punctual. And so during the Expo 2025, we did have a few issues, and we wanted to share information as accurately as possible and quickly as possible. So because we are a method of transportation, we wanted to make sure that we provide a viable option for people to move from place to place. We don't want to take away that option. And so when there is an issue, we want to make sure how they can still get to the destination, even if they cannot take our metro. So we thought that was important. Thank you.
Janet?
Carlos, thank you. And I like to think about the journey as we're calling it, as the travelocity of options. And you've outlined it really well, but the journey does start really from the time that you leave your home. Yes. And we saw that during the pandemic even, when we started thinking about how people would make their journey. So it's everything from how do I get there, how far do I walk, do I take a scooter, which bus, which train, all of that all the way through. And as Conan mentioned, that surprise and delight, that experience, that thinking happens right away. We're working currently, Reed Alvarado, my colleague is here, and we're working very closely with Sound Transit and SEPTA, specifically on fair payment, as we're talking about how you pay for it, right? And having a seamless, integrated fair payment journey is really a critical part. And if we start thinking about, like we see in other countries, starting from the point that you're on the airplane, all the way through your transit modes, and you've got options on which modes you can take, you want to know how much it's going to cost, how long will it take me, what are my options? That's the Travelocity experience that I'm thinking about before, but solving that, and that along with wayfinding is really critical, particularly for your international visitors, as well as those of your, those here in the U.S. And lastly, with World Cup, it's a situation where in the U.S., I don't know, we quite experienced where the games are going to be moving in 11 cities throughout the country. And so that's a very different experience. So addressing those elements, I think, will be critical.
Thank you. Right?
Janet, you talked about, the sort of a universal fare, but I think there's a lot to be said. We know a lot of people fly into Boston via Logan Airport. No one has Logan Airport as their final destination.
There is a hotel there. But
there is, but no thank you.
Only when you have a problem traveling.
But once you break down the silos of working with all those parties involved, because for years, Massport that operates Logan, MBTA, we always did our own thing. We never collaborated, but putting information about the MBTA's transit options right on someone's app for, like, Delta is a Boston's a hub for Delta. We're working with Delta through Massport to get that information right in the hands of passengers so that they're not first discovering how to get to the transit system once they've got their baggage and now they're trying to find their way through. So if you equip passengers with that information before they leave their house, not just how they're going to get there next, but for the entire journey, everyone wins.
Yeah.
And I'll just say that I mentioned that we did open up the airport metro connector. Actually, it's called the LAX MTC station now. And that is going to be the last stop for the LAX people mover. So there really is going to be a direct connection from LAX straight to the center. You'll go downstairs. You can access our train there. You can access buses from 6 different municipal transportation agencies. So there is a lot of coordination just within that one location. But as it relates to mega events and really making sure that people see that as a seamless system, so they're looking at one regional network, not a series of various transit agencies. We're working through all of those details now, and they get into the details, I'm telling you. Just standard operating procedures, making sure that you all have the same ones, having the same training, going through multiple tabletop exercises and full-scale exercises together so you understand the roles and responsibilities for each of the organizations so you're working as one, all the way to technology, because with 12 different agencies and 12 different bus companies and charter companies, everyone has a different communication system. So we have to put everybody on the same system so that we can communicate to all operators, all supervisors. We can see all the buses on the same monitor and be able to manage the system as one unit.
That's so well said. It's really not about the one agency. It's really about how you're serving the customer and creating those relationships so you know all the people, all of your sister agencies, all of the local communities, you know who to call. It's so important to make this system look to the public like it's simple and it's easy to use. And so, yes, I think it's about relationships. We have reached our time. And I want to maybe give one more thanks to our panelists for a great conversation. And to our hosts, thank you very much for putting this together. And we're done. We're done here. We have a big zero here for the number.
Give me just one more moment, if you may. Firstly, thank you so much to Mr. Braceros and our panelists for our wonderful panel. This is the end of our program, but if I may say a few words, we are hoping to collect surveys at your seats or through the QR code to incentivize you. There is a Japanese snack, if you complete it, that you can find at the reception desk. If you complete it, if you did it through the QR code, just show that you, the end screen that's showing that you submitted the item. In addition, yes, the contents of the symposium will be on the GT website in the next few days. If you enjoyed the symposium and would like to stay informed of our upcoming events, please join our mailing list or follow us on our social media channels. Both APTA and LinkedIn, or APTA and GT have LinkedIn and X and other social media platforms. And with that, the reception will begin in the foyer. Please enjoy the food. It will end at 7:30. Thank you so much again. Have a good night.